Welcome everyone to today's Standard Process Detox Balance webinar. I am your host, Angela Halderson. I'm an integrative and functional nutrition practitioner and certified Meridian stress assessment technician with Natural Healthy Concepts. I provide nutritional consultations both in person here in our Appleton location and of course remotely for all of our internet customers. And some of the really great important things I share here about getting people healthy. So where does that start? How do you become healthy? How do you stay healthy? And that's all about detoxing. One of the best ways to detoxify your body is with a whole food nutrition-based program, just like the one developed by Standard Process. Today, I am just so lucky to have Sara Brun-Blashka with us. Sara is the Director of Education with Standard Process. For those of you not familiar with Standard Process is a 90-year-old whole food-based supplement company located in Wisconsin. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. Excited to talk with you today.
I know. This is going to be a great program, and I think it will help us to reconnect with why we need to detox and how that works in our body. So let's get started.
Great. Go for it.
All right. If you want to go to the next slide, that would be great.
Okay.
So if we think about toxins, they're kind of everywhere. I'm right now recording this from Vegas, and I just walked through the casino. And I don't usually have this toxin exposure, but cigarette smoke, right, it was exposed. We think of household cleaners. We're not doing organic household cleaners, and we probably are getting some chemical exposures. Dyes either in food or in our cosmetics or in, our personal care items. Personal care items in general can have toxins. We also have toxins that are created in our own body that we need to remove, and those are called endogenous toxins. So those are ones that our body makes that we need to remove, such as carbon, ammonia, free radicals that happen. And those exogenous that I just talked about, such as the cigarette smoke, are ones that we're getting exposed to, and our body has to remove them also. So how many chemicals are our body exposed to annually? Well, almost 80,000 chemicals are in the U.S. And in a study that was done in the early 2000s, we saw that 162 chemicals were found in adults. And these were people who had like a desk job. They weren't people who were being exposed part of their job. They didn't work in a factory where maybe a lot of chemicals are utilized in that process. No, they were like, people sitting at a desk working, and they found 167 different chemicals in their urine and in their blood, which makes sense because, as I said before, those 80,000 different chemicals and 80 million pounds of herbicide is put into our environment where we consume our foods. So at Standard Process, we have an organic farm where, because it's organic, one of the constituents of that is that you don't use herbicides or pesticides. And so, by consuming organic, we help to cut down on that, and that's an important thing. We know that we can't always do that, but where possible, it's important to try to think about buying organic. Next slide, please. So, toxin exposure can appear like many other conditions, but some of the things you may think about and work with, Angela, if you're having these questions or these specific things come up, that maybe a detox would be appropriate for you. And these things are food cravings. You have sudden weight gain that's not really explained. You're really fatigued, and this may be that you can't fall asleep and you can't stay asleep. Skin conditions, dermatitis on your skin, that doesn't make sense. You haven't had an exposure to, poison ivy or something. Low libido, reduced mental clarity, joint discomfort, and then GI issues. Those are all things that may lead you to believe that there might be a toxin concern, and it's best to work with your practitioner and Angela to help kind of, sort that out and make sure that you're, in the right path to understanding is a detox appropriate for you. Next slide.
Great.
So we kind of sometimes think detox seems like it's a single event in a single day. Well, what we're actually doing in those times when we are supporting our detox or when we detox, we're actually supporting our internal mechanisms. So our body right now, right today, and hopefully every day, is in some cycle of detoxification. And I think of detox, really, it has three key phases, and they're like a circle. They're always happening together. So don't imagine like you're doing phase 1, and then it stops next week, and you start phase 2, and then phase 3. It all is happening together, so you have to prepare your body to get there. So what your body is doing during metabolic detox, first, it's unlocking the enzymes that help to remove these toxins out of the system. And so those specific enzymes are called cytochrome P450 enzymes, and they really take mostly what is a fat-soluble toxin. So mostly fat toxins are in your fats, that's where they live, and they need to be removed out of them. You can also have toxins in other places of your body, but mostly they're living in our fat. And then they need to be removed. Well, if we don't have the proper conjugation mechanism supported, then they're just out there on their own. And I kind of think of it, if you think of a kindergartner, and there's always that one kid who needs a partner, right? They need a partner to get them to and from. And sometimes it's a boy. My experience with children is a little boy, and so sometimes he needed a little girl to hold his hand and get him to where he was supposed to be. And that's really what's happening in the conjugation phase. It is that partner to hold your hand to get you out of the system and eliminate it. And those specific things that are helping with conjugation are amino acids. So we'll talk about the specific amino acid, but cysteine is the one specific amino acid that helps to remove those toxins. And then it's the antioxidants that make sure that these free radicals are tamed down. They keep them in control. And then last is elimination. Elimination is when we take those individual toxins and move them out of our system. And I really think when we think about elimination, most of it's happening through the GI tract, and so out. We want to make sure that we're able and consistently, if we're going to support a detoxification process, that we have the ability to defecate, that we're able to poop, and we can remove those toxins out. So that's a really important thing. So if you're experiencing constipation, then you want to maybe address that before you start really supporting your full detox. Let's go to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail about preparing for that journey. So, as I said, your body's always going through detoxification, but at certain times of the year, a lot of times we think about it at the beginning and at spring cleaning. We do this for our body to help move the toxins more effectively, and that's through the nutrients that we provide our body to bring those toxins out in a safe and appropriate manner through all three phases. But before we start there, we really want to make sure our body is ready for this journey. And some of the things that we want to address is specifically if we are living in the Midwest or the Northeast or the Northwest during our times of winter, we don't get enough vitamin D, and that's an important aspect of supporting our overall nutrition. We also want to think about B12. So if you're living a vegetarian lifestyle or a vegan lifestyle, supporting a B12, having a B12 vitamin on board is really important. Most people are magnesium deficient. There is somewhere between 50 and 70% of the U.S. population has a subclinical level of magnesium, so they're not getting as much as they should because they're not eating as many green vegetables and so on. And so supporting magnesium is important. And then if you're thinking about you have a specific GI concern, then you really want to address that ahead of time. And sometimes when we have a specific GI issue, we may want to do an elimination diet where we eliminate a series of foods such as dairy, peanuts, eggs, soy, gluten, and so on, and then introduce them back to understand if those are an area that is a specific concern, because we want to make sure that we're getting our body ready and we're not trying to do two things at the same time. We're really kind of addressing that, and then we go to the detox. Next slide. So our diet requirements, we want to make sure that we're supporting our body appropriately. Detox isn't really about weight loss, but a lot of times we do see that happen because we've changed our diets, we're supporting our nutrition. But we want to make sure that we have enough calories to support the detox mechanisms, and specifically the right amount of protein. And we give you some guidance. The amount of protein that we ask you to consume is in grams per kilogram. So somewhere between 1 gram per kilogram. Most of us know our weight in pounds, not in kilograms, but you can do a really simple calculation and divide your weight by 2.2, and that would give you your kilograms. And then if you have some specific conditions, say you are diabetic, or you work out a ton, or there's other reasons that your practitioner discusses with you that maybe you need a little more protein, then you would also want to go a little bit higher, maybe up to the 1.5 grams per kilogram. The other thing that you want to think about is coffee and alcohol. And I always think the day that you start detox is probably not the day that you should stop drinking coffee, because you're going to get a headache and it's going to feel terrible and you're going to blame it on the detox. So it's best to start ahead of time, work your way through it, and then get down to it. And then be ready for that detox. And then as we go through the detox process, and so one thing, Kathy had texted me and said she wasn't able to get on to the webinar. I just wanted to address.
Okay. I do have one attendee still.
Okay.
Another one dropped out, so I don't know why that would be.
Okay. Well, we'll just keep going, and then we'll have it recorded, and we'll be ready.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So we won't want to stop cold turkey. We want to try to eliminate it as we go through if we're drinking alcohol and coffee. And then you would want to work with your practitioner, work with Angela to understand, should it be 28-day versus a 10-day program? So most people benefit from having a 28-day program because it, kind of helps build your body into it appropriately.
Yeah, and Sara, I, as a practitioner, of course, always jump towards that 28-day program. I think they're going to get the most bang for their buck when they spend more time on their health, clearing themselves out.
I totally agree. I mean, I think sometimes the 10 is just too quick, and you're also taxing your system in a really fast way, where when you do 28 days, it becomes more of a habit, and then you're starting to change your overall habits then versus
Absolutely.
just a day, right? So
Yeah.
I agree completely.
And as you're doing that elimination diet, 10 days is not enough to let the body rest from the exposure from gluten, soy, peanuts, whatever that may be. Where once you get around that 28, 30-day mark, your body's like really a lot more sensitive and willing to tell you, hey, no, I don't like this.
Exactly, right? Because if you just do it like really quick, unless you have a severe allergy to something, it's not going to be picked up right away.
Right.
Yeah. So when we kind of think about the SP Detox balance and when we made it, and I was lucky enough to be on the team of the scientists who helped design it, which is, building a product is always a really fascinating experience, and you really get to understand kind of the ins and outs of the product. But the first part is easy because everything is in one overall process. So you're not doing a sophisticated, regime, and then you can also keep those supplements that you're already doing that are supporting your overall body, so you don't have to stop that and then try to add, additional. So it's just a shake, so it's easy to use, it's safe. There has been 2 clinical studies that have been done on it, for the 10-day and the 12-day. Those are in publication right now, so they haven't been published. But we found that, people in general had a really positive, reaction to it. And we also saw clinically that we were able to improve both the phase 1 enzymes and the phase 2 enzymes. So we knew that we were able to safely support both aspects of that detox. And then there's a good amount of fiber to help remove that. And then overall, many of the ingredients that are grown on the SP farm are there. And so we know their origin, we know how they are raised, and we know that they are done in an organic and regenerative way. And so that's a really important aspect to it. It is a vegan product, so it gives options for everyone. So the protein in it is a vegan protein. And then we do add some additional amino acids to support that overall, and they are from a vegan source, because we want to make sure that we are supporting the overall body. So we want to make sure that we have those branch chains to support the muscles as we go through this process, but then we have enough of the glycine available to make sure that we can detoxify appropriately, because it's really key for that conjugation phase. The other aspects, too, that I think are really exciting about it is the fiber. So you're going to have a good amount of fiber throughout your day. You still need to make sure that you're consuming enough fiber. The level of magnesium in it. And then it has a great taste. It was only in the chai flavor. Now there's an unflavored with a little bit of monk fruit as a sweetener. Both of them use monk fruit as a sweetener. And I kind of love the history of monk fruit. It's a really interesting herb that's kind of been or fruit that's been around for thousands of years. It was grown in Chinese monasteries as a sweetening agent, and traditionally in Chinese medicine was used as a digestive. And because it was grown in a monastery, that's how it got its name, monk fruit. So go to the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit more about kind of some of the ingredients. So the protein source is going to be a complete protein, but from a plant base. So we're marrying yellow pea, which has a lower allergenicity, and the yellow pea and the pumpkin are all organic proteins, so we are getting them from organic sources to help make sure we manage the allergenicity of it. We're getting flax to help improve the omega-3 and also the level of fiber. And then there's a bunch of other really awesome ingredients, such as Spanish black radish, who has 3 of its own studies showing that it helps to increase phase 1 and phase 2. And so it helps to turn on cytochrome P450 enzymes, but then also has been shown to help with the removal of that in the conjugation phase. We also see we have things like juniper and milk thistle, which are traditionally been used herbally to help with detoxification of the liver. And then other nutrients to support the body throughout the process. And we'll talk in a couple of slides about the level of vitamin K and the level of magnesium that comes with this product, because that specifically the magnesium from Swiss chard and other things are helping with some of that elimination. So the fiber helps with elimination, but then we'll talk about how slightly alkalizing the body is helping with elimination. So it's 17 grams of vegan protein and a whole food fiber. So, oh, thanks. We can go on.
Okay.
So we talked about how does this work, and I've talked about a little bit of those nutrients. But if we think about phase 1, so many of those nutrients in there are activating the cytochrome P450 enzyme. So those are the enzymes that help unlock the process. And so we think about Spanish black radish as kind of the superstar in that area, but then there's milk thistle and juniper too that have a key role in there. And then the neutralization, the antioxidants in the beets and other things, those phytonutrients. So we think about there's macronutrients, which are calories and proteins and fats, And then there's vitamins and minerals, which are micronutrients. And then we have phytonutrients, and that's what gives our plants color. And those phytonutrients are strong in antioxidant activity. And so they are key with that. But then also the protein, the glycine, is so important to walk out that toxin after it's been released. And then lastly, elimination, which would include the fiber and the level of magnesium to help remove that. And then you need to make sure like you're drinking enough water and you're moving, which also helps with that elimination process. So the 10-day program is kind of a ramp up, ramp down. So you start with 1, and then you go up to 3 a day, and then you come back down. The 28-day is going to be very similar to that. And with the products, with the 28 and the 10-day, you get the product plus a guide, and then in the 28-day, you get a shaker cup. And you can see it's the same, but it's just accelerated in the 10-day. And so the real benefit is the 28-day to have that time for your body to kind of compensate and build up, as we talked about earlier, Angela and I, and how that's really important to the process. So alkalization is a really interesting thing. And so this isn't like making your body alkalize. It's just slightly changing your pH, very small amount, through the magnesium that is coming from the Swiss chard and the buckwheat in the product to help with the elimination through the urine. So we know that if you slightly adjust your alkaline, so we're not saying that you're going to become alkaline, but your body will slightly adjust through the magnesium level to help remove toxins from your urine. Most of the removal is going to happen through fecal matter, but then you also are going to remove some through urine, and you want to be able to appropriately get out as much toxins as possible because you don't want it to be reabsorbed. So that's why it's important for the slightly being alkalized. And then lastly, with the fiber too, you want to make sure that you're removing toxins through the GI tract also. Protein, I talked about how to calculate that. This gives you just a simple goal guide. So if you don't remember my calculation of 2.2, you can kind of just look at this as a reference. And this kind of helps you understand how much protein. And then there's a nice tracker in the book that helps you understand, okay, how much protein am I getting, through the shakes, and how much do I need to add throughout my daily intake of other foods, such as lean meats or additional vegetarian proteins or fish that is, caught out of the sea that is, well defined. You want to be careful with how you're getting your fish because you don't want to add heavy metals back into your system when you're trying to detoxify.
And this is a great page in the program guide. I think Standard Process has gone above and beyond making their detox program so simple for everybody. There is no math involved. I don't have to go to anyone. I don't have to figure out anything. I know about how much I weigh. I look and go, oh, look, I need about 50 grams of protein a day. Sweet. I don't have to go to a dietitian to figure that out.
Right. Because most people, it's one of those things that you're like, how do I figure that out? It's funny. We have a Chilean exchange student right now, and I'm always trying to convert things back to the metric system for her because she's like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, was it, so the rest of the world understands. We just need to do that conversion. So
exactly.
Right.
Yes, we're the challenged ones. But
yeah.
and I know you're going to move on, but it comes with great recipes. You don't even have to go hunting for new ones. Like I said, you figured out the protein for us and everything else. So.
Right. And we also want you to think about how you're eating because this will help you change your life. You can adopt this eating pattern forever, right? And then you could add you wouldn't want to do, all 3 shakes forever, but you could have one shake in the morning. And this just gives you a guidance, You should have twice as much vegetables as you have fruit. Healthy grains such as quinoa or, the ones that are gluten-free are a great option. And lean, either vegetarian proteins, lean fish, are very important. And especially as we age, we want to make sure that we're getting enough protein to appropriately support our bodies through the process. Water. Water is one of those things that if we're not conscious about, I think we can easily forget. So having, a good water bottle with you at all times of day is really key. And you want to really consume about 8 to 10 glasses of water. And this will help with with removing your toxins through urination. And, it also helps to make us feel full and all those other things. So if you haven't had a holiday present that you're thinking about, a really nice water bottle is a great option.
Yes, absolutely.
Exercise, during detox, you want to keep moving because it's really important with elimination that if we're not moving, then we tend not to eliminate appropriately. So make sure you're trying to, incorporate 10,000 steps and think about exercising that 30 to 45 minutes a day, and really does help us remove our toxins and move them through the system. And then these are some sample meals that are in the guide to really help you to understand, how much should I do a day? So the shake should be part of your total caloric intake, and Angela can really help you with that if you don't understand it. But, when you're doing 3 shakes a day, you probably need to cut down on some of your other food. It should be part of your overall consumption of food. And, the amount of food you eat is based on you as an individual. And so you have to understand your body a bit and understand your size and things of that nature. And, in the end, I think this journey will change your life because you'll be able to start in a healthy way. It's a great way to start your January and making a difference and removing those toxins. We all are exposed. It's not something that just somebody, who maybe is, working in a certain place, maybe, a beautician who works in a hair salon. They're not the only ones exposed. We all have exposure. And some people just have more than others. And so maybe they need to do it more frequently. But there's an advantage for all of us to start our year with a detox support program. And SP Detox Balance is easy.
Thank you, Sara. I do have a couple of questions that have come in. Is this a safe program for everyone? So is there, any type of condition or medication that somebody may be taking where they may not want to do the detox right now?
So obviously, if you're pregnant or lactating, you would want to hold off on detoxifying. You don't want to bring forth toxins when you're pregnant, unless your practitioner has a very specific reason they would want you to do that. It does have a level of vitamin K. That doesn't mean that you can't use it because your body does need vitamin K, but if you're on warfarin or another blood thinning medication, you would just want to make sure that you're checking your bleeding levels and making sure that you aren't having any issues with that.
Okay. And can a person be too alkaline? We hear a lot with alkaline water, an alkaline diet. Is there a benefit to being super alkaline?
So obviously you can be too alkaline. Your body needs to be somewhere in the middle. About 7 is our normal pH, and parts of our body have different pHs because they have different mechanisms. Our body are designed to be a more neutral area. So we're just doing a very slight alkalization. We don't want to, go crazy. And I don't know, Angela, what is your thoughts on that too? What do you normally suggest?
Yes, I definitely agree. Normal city water is neutral at a 7, and if someone is sick and they want to do more of an alkaline water, I'm like, 8. 8 is fine, maybe 8.5, but none of that crazy stuff that you're seeing out there with 13 and 18. And,
right.
Yeah, we should be at a nice balance. And yes, when you have enough minerals on board, your body will take care of everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Sara, do you have any other thoughts before we wrap up for today?
No, I just think make sure you're consuming enough water during the process. Make sure you can poop. I just like saying poop during anything.
Yes,
And I
pooping
think
is
it's
important.
important. It is so important when you start, a program like this. So, and
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised at
enjoy
how
it,
many people are not pooping. So
right?
you got to be doing that, or
Right.
that is one way that we continue to become sick. So get that on board
Yeah.
first. Reach out
Right.
to me or someone you know to get pooping, and then we can detox.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
thank you very much for your time today, Sara. I really appreciate it. And for all of our listeners, you can reach out to Natural Healthy Concepts for any questions about Standard Process Detox Balance Program, any of their other products, all their whole food glandular-based products. They're all great. Really, your health is the best investment you'll ever make. So start now.